Hey, I'm Miranda.
And I'm April.
And this is Rude and Random.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to do your thing.
What thing?
Where you're like, oh, she's rude and I'm random.
Oh, well, she is rude. And I am random.
You're something. Welcome to our relaunch.
No, our relaunch.
Okay, we've only launched twice before. Okay.
So it feels like
relaunch.
It feels like a bunch of times.
Welcome to our relaunch. And since we did our first ever episode of True Crime Co. on Halloween, we decided to release our first official new episode of Rude and Random on Halloween this year. We are going to have a little bit more structure than the last Rude and Random episode. So we do have a layout. We're going to do 2 topics per episode. Then we're going to have a true crime story that we do. And we're going to close out on a missing person flyer. So, as I'm sure you guessed from our creative attire, today's episode is going to be about
aliens.
No, I hate aliens. It's going to be about Halloween.
Aliens on Halloween.
In general, no aliens.
It's going to be about aliens.
Aliens. There's a little blonde alien in your house.
My guest star, who's not supposed to be on camera without his disguise.
Boxster.
Oh, he's going to go put his disguise on now.
Of course he's got to draw on the nose and everything.
Cue the intro music. You better not use my eyeliner.
Cued.
I hate you.
You always say that.
Because you're ridiculous.
I'm random.
Oh, I guess me saying I hate you just solidifies the fact that you called me the rude one.
Point proven again.
Oh, okay. Anyways, can you lead us into our first topic today?
Yeah. And it's about...
Do you remember what our first topic is?
Yes, it's about Samhain and its historical practices versus its more modern practices.
Except for none of us really did our research on the modern practices.
We're going to figure out why, though.
We're going to figure out why we didn't do our research.
No, why it's a very lack of research to have.
It's true. It's true. It's true. All right. I blame the witch trials. No, I'm just kidding.
For it not evolving into modern times?
Yeah.
When was the witch trials? Like 1600s?
Yeah, that's why it was a joke.
Make it funnier next time.
Okay, this is your last cameo.
Oh, and he's a pirate.
He's Foxy from Five Nights at Freddy's, right?
Oh,
that's who you look like.
He's still Foxter.
So I got a lot of my information from the History Channel. They had a website about it. And I also got a little bit from newgrange.com. I don't really know what it is. It just popped up on Google. But I'll tag it in the show notes. So the tradition dates back to the ancient Celts. Can you please stop nodding at me?
I'm agreeing. I'm following along.
I just see a pirate.
Hire me, Tia. You must go on.
Okay. So the tradition dates back to ancient Celts. It's like 2,000 years ago. What?
It was just funny.
Okay.
This looks like my My mustache is trying to go into my mouth.
Yeah, when you wipe your eyes, you can see your hand underneath your face.
I know. Whoa. Wipe it. Whoocha. Okay, sorry. Because back to the ancient Celts.
Moving on. I'm not going to say it again. I said it 3 times already. I think we know where it comes from. So it's regarded as one of the most important of the 4 fire festivals. I wish I was better at research and could tell you the other 4. I wish I was better just in general because I don't know what the other 4 are.
Wait, is it Yule?
I don't think Yule's a fire festival.
They're all fire festivals.
I guess it is the solstice festivals. Yeah. Probably Yule.
So Yule is one of the solstices. Samhain, Beltane, and I don't know the last one.
I guess I did know 2 of them.
Well, what's the 4th one?
I don't know.
Okay.
Anyways. It's kind of seen as like the Celtic New Year in traditions because it's like the end of the light season or the summer months into the darker season or the fall and winter months. It's also the time of the harvest. So it's the harvest celebration. And it's traditionally was a mandatory celebration that lasted 3 days and 3 nights. The festival involved feasts for the living, in which ancestors were welcomed, food offerings for fairies and other monsters. They're like the order of, I don't want to say them because I'm going to pronounce them wrong, but there's other monsters.
You know, I don't know why we ever stopped doing that.
Because Christianity.
Fair. But, I mean, wouldn't it be nice if we had food offerings for our ancestors who have passed?
Yeah, and if we like invited them to our celebrations and stuff.
Yeah, we always want them to hang around, right?
I think that you see an uptick in like maybe weddings where you have like a table for dead relatives to come and join in.
I do like I don't know about the other Asian cultures, but I do enjoy or very interested in the Japanese one where they do have the shrine or memory cove for their relatives or loved ones who passed, and then they have food or incense burning. It's nice remembering.
We bury you in the ground and then sometimes put flowers on it.
And sometimes we revisit you. And sometimes, more than not, people just don't ever go and see you again. Because, I mean, granted, you are in the ground. 6 feet, usually.
Well,
it's out of sight, out of mind kind of thing.
I'm going to be a tree, so lots of people are going to visit me. And not even
you cannot be a tree. I am going to be a tree.
First off, you'll be dead, so I can do whatever I want.
Out. Like, you're going to die. Like, I'm going to die before you.
I hope so. No offense.
Please justify that as I am 15 years older than you.
Yeah, you're 15 years older than me.
Because that was a little rude.
Anyways, back to the topic here. See, it's still plenty random. Back to the topic at hand. The festivals included Feast for the Living.
You just keep my randomness down.
Okay. Samhain festivals include Feast for the Living, in which they welcome back their ancestors. They have food offerings that they leave outside of the villages or in like fields to try and keep the fairies and other Celtic monsters away. And then they also have excessive drinking of mostly mead because it was early on days, cattle sacrifices, and a community bonfire. All around, it seems real lit. That's all I'm saying. Like, I can really get down with the traditional Samhain festival.
Now, do you think that they had brisket?
I mean,
Because that sounds
Were-
like
Were they
right now.
capable of cooking brisket at that point? I don't know how to make a brisket, so just to be so for real.
They smoked it.
Then probably. I do know that they threw the bones of the sacrificed cattle into the community bonfire. Can't remember why, but I do remember that. The community bonfire. Well, let's get to that in a second. So basically what happened is when the harvest started, everyone would go do their jobs, and then they would let their their family fires burn out in their houses. And then when the work was done, everybody would go gather with the Druid priests, and they would light the community bonfire, and they would use a wheel that created like friction, and it was supposed to symbolize the sun, I guess. And then they would take flames from the community bonfire to relight the flames inside their houses. Also, if you committed a crime or used your weapon during the festivities, you were sentenced to death.
That's hardcore.
Did you lean over?
Talking into my microphone. It's right here, you know. I don't know if you can hear me really well, just talking
Yes.
regularly straight.
We can.
Well, you know, it's like anybody else who gets on a microphone, they're like, is this working? Hello.
They're not professionals. You're supposed to be professional here.
I don't think so.
Well, do you have anything about ancient traditions?
No. I mean, I don't really think it was that much to it, really. I mean, you kind of covered it. They had 3 days of festivities. They sacrificed, they ate,
You kill some
they
animals.
drank
But what I
water.
don't understand, if you get killed because you used a weapon or committed a crime, then how did they slaughter the cattle? You think the rules were different?
They made it against each other, not the sacrificial cattle.
Well, I'm glad we cleared that up because I would hate to be the guy sacrificing the cow.
Well, if they did that, they might as well just sacrifice the human.
Maybe they did.
Maybe.
Well, some stuff in the medieval times too, if you don't have anything to add for the ancient times.
You know what? I think it's just better if I just randomly react to these.
Well, don't forget that when you're randomly reacting, you have to make noise or people can't see you.
I'll just talk slowly and wait for the thing to pop over to me and then do my reaction.
Please don't. Oh, that's going to make editing a nightmare.
I'll just try to talk slower. How about that?
Okay. So during the Middle Ages, traditions evolved, obviously. They started using jack-o'-lanterns. But
Nice. I love jack-o'-lantern.
What'd you say?
I love jack-o'-lanterns.
Well, early on, they used turnips instead of pumpkins.
It's a root vegetable.
I'm not really sure why they changed to pumpkins.
Probably easier to carve.
Probably, yeah. And it's probably hard to put a candle inside of a turnip.
And turnips are a bit more solid than pumpkins. No, they're actually solid where pumpkins are a little hollow, but you just have
Pumpkins
to.
are definitely hollow, and turnips are just like a whole vegetable through and through.
Exactly.
They also had this thing called dumb supper. I don't know why it was called dumb supper. All I can assume is that dumb meant something different in the Middle Ages.
I would type it up and look it up, but my keyboard's not working, so.
That's okay. It's okay. Just know that the History Channel said that it was called dumb supper. And so if it's wrong, that's on the History Channel.
And guess what? I can use my phone.
Dumb supper was like you would leave all, it was kind of like the feast where you invited your ancestors, but you would like leave all your windows and doors open to invite them in. Oh my gosh, I forgot one of the most important parts about the ancient rituals. That's where we get our costumes from. Is participants would dress up in costumes and masks as disguises to like hide from evil fairies and spirits.
That makes sense. How else are you
Yep.
gonna hide? Oh, I
Exactly.
looked up what Dumb Supper is.
I just told you it's a feast where your ancestors are invited, and kids like play games to entertain the dead ancestors, and then like family members catch them up on the tea. What's your say?
It says cook a simple meal with foods that were meaningful to your deceased loved ones or associated with the season, such as apples, bread, and root vegetables like turnips. Okay, so this was from maybonhouse.com is where that definition came from. Is that a good site? You're welcome.
I don't know, but it does make sense because the whole point of the dumb supper was for your dead ancestors. So making them foods that they liked or that represents the season. I also forgot to mention that ancient Celts believed that the Samhain is when the division between the realms of the living and the dead was the thinnest, so you were able to commune with your ancestors.
Or you can just shorten that to thinning of the veil.
Yeah. Dang, this all is right in front of me. I keep missing important stuff.
I'm acting just like Aries. I'm a know-it-all.
It's creepy. Oh my God, you're so ridiculous. I'm going to show him just that clip.
See? Rude again.
You're the one that called him a know-it-all.
But it is. It's part of his charm.
All right. Trick-or-treating was also a thing in medieval times, but it was different. Okay. So tricks, they all kind of blamed on the fairies and were like, oh, it's those pesky spirits, those heifers. Probably didn't call them heifers, but they would also like go door to door to people's house and like basically Halloween carol for people's dead ancestors. And then you would like everybody. Sorry, go ahead.
I just said that was nice.
So these groups of people would come to your house, sing to your dead ancestors, and you would pay them in cakes. And then they would go on to the next house. And that's kind of where trick-or-treating started, allegedly.
Well, would you rather have a cake than a candy bar if you went to somebody's house?
No.
Why? Sometimes people make really good cakes.
Sometimes they make really bad cakes. And sometimes
they put things in candy bars. This is just how it is.
Please see True Crime Co. episode 1, The Halloween Murders, where we talk about how this dude put arsenic in pixie sticks. Do you know how much simpler it would be for people like him to put arsenic in my cake? It's the same reason they cook loud at schools.
People should just not be douches and do that kind of stuff.
Should, but aren't. Actually,
It's
just
crazy what people think.
They think terrible things and to kill people for no reason.
Oh, they do so many other things. I mean, we could talk about murder, pedophilia.
But alas, we're talking about happy Halloween things.
Happy Halloween.
That's all I have for traditional practices for Samhain.
I mean, that was pretty good. I mean, some of those would be really interesting to re-implement that into our culture because, I mean, I think it's respectful because a lot of people are now knocking over tombstones, and then there's a lot of graves that nobody visits anymore, and it keeps, some peace of mind because even though people are gone, they were still part of you.
Yeah. Some of my favorite TikTok videos are those people that go clean forgotten graves.
Oh, I know. There's this one I watch where she cleans the graves and she describes the tombstone and what's on it and everything. It's very nice. Describes it.
There's this one woman that communes with the spirits while she cleans them.
I haven't seen that one.
I've only seen one. I thought it was fake, so I didn't watch it anymore.
Well, it's so hard to say. I mean, because Halloween is one of the times where you would do like seances and trying to commune with the dead. And yeah, I don't know why I just air quoted dead. Because, I mean, dead's very real. And stuff. Oh my gosh, this is just going to kind of foreshadowing our next topic.
Oh my God, it is. But before we get ahead of ourselves to the fun topic.
I just said it was foreshadowing. That's all.
What do you have any modern? Because I have a short list.
I mean, there's a festival that occurs, and it's basically a lot of people coming out to watch all the other people who got their weird out flocking around.
When is that festival at your house, by the way?
It should be any time, actually. I don't actually know.
Well, tell me and I'll wear this. And a fairy dress. Obviously not my good boy shirt.
Of course, I go to this place, and I enjoy watching the people walk around. Some people go a little overboard, but whatever.
Oh, that's going to be me this year. I'm going to wear my pink hair. I'm going to wear a whole get-up. We have a pagan pride festival next weekend that I'm going to. I'll be making my heterosexual Christian husband take me to.
The gun show? Is that what we're going to call it now?
Yeah. And guess what? He loves me, so he will take me. And he will entertain the ideas and look at all the things that they have. Anyways, my modern stuff that I have are people still throw parties and drink in excess. But now it's kind of pointless. Not really celebrating the harvest or your ancestors or anything like that. You're just getting drunk.
And expressing your individuality.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. No shame. No hate. I'm just saying. My costume.
That's kind of what I said.
What'd you say?
That at these festivals, people go to watch the other people who may go a little overboard, flaunt around.
Yeah. They don't sacrifice cattle at these festivals or parties that we know of. It's not common practice.
No, it's definitely not common practice. I mean, you can always cook brisket. I really want some brisket.
I can tell. Jack-o'-lanterns aren't really a symbol of protection anymore, more so a symbol of Halloween. Spooky, scary. And trick-or-treating is now little kids dressed up as various different things, going door to door for candy, not singing to dead people.
Well, and there's a lot of kids who don't even go door to door now. They just go to the trunk or treat.
Yeah, we do both.
It's so sad. I mean, I get the risk of trick or treating, but it was a fun time, and kids look forward to it.
Well, we go trunk or treat. We go to all the fall festivals. We go to all the pagan fall festivals. We go to some of the pagan summer festivals too. And then we go trick-or-treating at base housing.
Well, not everybody has base housing. But
Suckers.
like neighborhoods, I mean, people would target nice neighborhoods to go trick-or-treating because that's where the best candy was.
Yeah, well, they don't really have good candy anymore anyways. Like at Halloween, they don't sell big packs of big candy bars. They sell big packs of little candy bars. And who's paying $4 a bar to give to strange little kids? Hundreds of strange little kids.
I'm buying the snack packs, dude.
Exactly. Even rich people are buying snack packs now, okay?
I mean, I don't remember getting full-size candy bars trick-or-treating.
Either.
I always got snack size, which was fine for me. Okay, well, more modern things that we do the bonfires. And not everybody drinks, but there's a lot of spirits. No pun intended.
Not me.
And
I said not mead, vodka.
I just said spirits because alcohol is considered spirits. Just a little play on words there, bro. And there's still festivals or get-togethers. We don't have internal fires in the house anymore, really. And insurance would have a heyday if we did. So there's no going around and relighting people's fires.
We have fireplaces.
Mine's gas, so you can't relight that with. I guess you could.
Yeah. You can take a match, light it at the community bonfire, go back and light your fireplace.
Okay, and here's the other thing, is we don't have the community as they used to in the beginning times because, they were actually small towns. Everybody knew everybody. Yeah. And now, I barely know my neighbors. I know some of their names.
Well, Chris is trying to be best with all of our neighbors.
Because that's just how he rolls.
I don't
He's
want
not antisocial like you.
Every time I walk out my house, I don't want to say hey to somebody.
Throw your hand up. Hey, keep going.
I do because I'm polite, contrary to popular belief.
I think just the way you said I'm polite was rude. So
I am polite.
mm-hmm.
I'm polite at work. I'm polite at the grocery store.
Okay. Are we done with this topic?
Yes.
There's not much else we can do. There's just, you know what? There could be a pagan community that does do things, but I'm not part of that.
We're not part of it.
Oh.
I've tried. I joined a pagan group on Facebook, but they're all in the middle of the state. But obviously, there is people around here because there's festivals and there's people that show up at those festivals. But
no, there's people everywhere because there's festivals and there's still gatherings and there's materials and there's stores and there's ways to connect. But then you actually go to some of these places and some people are just on a different level, man.
I just have a hard time connecting with people because, I don't know, maybe I'm autistic. That has been hinted at several times by several different people, which I think is rude, but whatever.
You could be. Whatever. And you also, what you have, it's so funny, is you have a expressive extrovert father and you have a introverted
Recluse.
So you can be extroverted. I think Stephanie's more extroverted than you, but also it's weird. You guys are a mix, but I don't know. It's just sometimes it's really hard to connect to people nowadays.
I can be extrovert on the outside, but just no inside. My little battery is just.
It's just shrinking, shriveling up. I get
and
that.
then
My bad.
I get really mean. I'm ready to go. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And don't let that neighbor wave at me. I don't hate the neighbor. I like the neighbors. I just don't like to talk to people.
It's hard for me. I can talking to people all the time.
Yes, all I do is talk to people, and half the time they're yelling at me and cussing me out, and I'm like, listen, I didn't do it. Don't talk to me like that. And my boss is like,
Mm.
just hang up on them. And I'm like, I can't. They need help. They'll stop cussing at me eventually.
Oh, I think it's just hard to keep up small talk because, it's just a certain level of sharing and connecting to what the other person is willing to share. Though it's hard to get on the same level quickly. And you just got some people who just don't care. They'll just go up and start talking to whoever, whatever, and just kind of guide it. But, some people who are more empathetic or try to be on the same level, it's harder.
Plus, people don't have the same interests as me. Okay?
True.
People don't want to talk about Ted Bundy. I actually hate Ted Bundy. I don't like to talk about him either.
You just like to talk about true crime or whatever pops in your head.
I do like to talk about true crime. I also like to just like drag serial killers, like just talk mad shit about them. And
all right, okay,
so
we're getting off topic. We have some other topics to cover here, so it's 11:47.
Don't tell what time it is.
It's 11:47.
Okay, what's our next topic?
We are going to talk about the movie Beetlejuice, if it was real.
Well, I don't want to spoil the new movie or anything. So if you haven't watched it and plan to watch it, probably just skip this part. Because what I'm going to say is, if I was Lydia Dietz at the end of that movie, Beetlejuice, I would have married Beetlejuice.
You would have married Beetlejuice?
Yeah, I would have.
See, this is what I don't like about Beetlejuice, is in the first movie, Lydia is a very strong character, and she's on par to be an individual and non-reliant. I know that from there to there, from Beetlejuice to Beetlejuice, there's a lot happened in her life. I won't go into it because I don't want to spoil the movie. But it's very strange to see her at a weaker point.
Well, she did experience a big trauma. Plus, she spends her life talking to dead people. I assume. Do you watch the show Ghosts?
No.
Okay, well, the main character in that one falls down and can see ghosts after a head injury, and she talks about how she. Huh?
I do know that part.
Okay. So she's always talking about how she can't go to big cities or certain places because all she sees is the people who are dead and how they tragically died. And from looking at the Beetlejuice waiting rooms, okay, I think Barbara, Adam, and Beetlejuice are probably the less scary of the ghosts that you can see. So just imagine walking around your whole life seeing all these terrible things that have happened to all these people. I think that will wear on your
question, though. Is not one of those. I mean, she talks to the rando ghost in the bathroom. Nobody can tell her that her fiance is a dick.
Well, somebody does. Beetlejuice. I'm gonna be so real with you. I was totally raised out by Beetlejuice in that movie. Like, I was wooed. Don't just leave it on me.
So you were speak English to me. You were what?
I told you I was wooed. I was raised out.
What does raised out mean?
You know, he's got the charisma. Fell for it.
Whatever.
I really wanted Lydia to marry Beetlejuice.
Why?
Because I like him.
would seriously marry a corpse robbing 600-year-old? Never mind, you like 50-year-old men when you were like 10.
600-year-old. Yes. What's the difference between marrying a vampire?
One, typically they're better looking.
Not
I'm
every
vain,
vampire
whatever.
is hot, statistically.
I mean, isn't that part of their allure? Is that they're gorgeous?
If you're ugly before you become a vampire, you're gonna be ugly as a vampire.
Mm-mm. Paranormal. It can do whatever it wants.
True.
Huh?
You didn't like Beetlejuice at the end of the second movie?
I always like Beetlejuice as Beetlejuice.
I was
Not
gonna
as
say,
this.
I kind of liked him in Beetlejuice 1 too. I just think he's a little perverted for me.
He's too perverted for you.
Yeah. Honestly, no, I don't think so. I was just watching it with the kids, and I was like, maybe that wasn't appropriate. But really, I like Beetlejuice. I wouldn't have married him at the end of the first movie. But I would marry him at the end of the second one.
I don't know. Because he always has like worms and stuff. Creepy crawlies crawling out of his pockets. And
Yeah, because he's a bioexorcist.
you know what?
It's like
Me, Beetlejuice and I would be buds. Okay. We would be buddies. We would not be significant others.
You just have to clean it up. That's all. No bugs.
Mm-mm.
I would have married him. I was so upset when she didn't. And come on. Yes, the montage with the cake and the rain, that was fun.
That was my favorite part when he was loved it. When he started lip sync or serenading Lydia.
When he was what?
Hilarious. Serenading Lydia. And all of it. Every time. Because he did it, what, 3 times he started singing?
I think only twice.
Oh, that's right. He had a flashback where he was telling it all in Spanish.
Yeah.
That was hilarious. I was like, oh my God.
I was freaking defending Beetlejuice on TikTok. They're like, after the way he discarded his first wife, you really think he'd keep Lydia around? I was like, his first wife murdered him, okay? I would have chopped her up too. Give the man some grace.
His freaking first wife was the lead of Soul Suckers.
She was like a succubus, for real, for real.
For real.
Who
And Lucy
poisoned
did the
him
Bob.
on their wedding night. That was devastating. That was the worst death of the whole series.
I know.
Like
Can Bob come back from that?
No, she sucked his soul.
I know, but since she had the thing, I don't want to give it away, but since she had the thing, wouldn't it kind of like release the souls that she sucked?
I really don't know.
I don't either. Because what do you do? If you suck the soul, where do you go? You just go into oblivion?
Oh, you remember in the first one where they look in that green fish tank type of thing, and he's like, these are all the lost souls who are like dead.
Yes.
That's probably where they go.
There's a door.
My bad. Looks like fish tank.
What if it was real? So I feel like Beetlejuice would be a celebrity. Number one.
Well, you know, that's what he says in the first one. He's like, I can't tell you my name because then you'll tell your friends, and then they'll be calling me all the time, and I had to do signings at the mall.
Yeah, he would totally be a celebrity. And Lydia let's be real. If this was real life and everybody grew up with it and got comfortable with the integration of the dead world with the living world, she would be like the president of his fan club. She would be the Hailey Bieber of our times.
I'm deceased. If Beetlejuice was real and I was Lydia Dietz,
Mm-hmm.
we would be married.
No.
Yes.
Mm-mm.
Yes. I mean, he goes in there. Okay. Let's just talk
He's a
about
rotting corpse.
let's just talk about the wedding scene, okay? Let's just talk about the wedding scene. He goes in there, makes the fiance tell the truth, okay? Lets her super sucker punch him, okay? Then all the people she didn't want at her wedding, he sucks them into their phones. Done. Donezo, okay? And then does a whole montage with a like 6-foot tall cake, makes everybody dance and sing for her. I'm just saying. Up to that point, it might have been iffy, but that would have been a done deal for me.
So I feel like you like what he can do, not exactly attracted to him.
I think his personality is funny. Okay. And the way he uses his ghost powers is awesome. Yeah. I'm attracted to a lot of ugly men just because of who they are. Character wise. Let's be so for real, okay?
At least you admit it.
When I talk to people about Sons of Anarchy, they're like, oh, Jax Tiller. And I'm like, oh, it's
I don't know
Chip.
who that is. I don't watch Sons of Anarchy.
Well, look up Chips because he has a beer gut and like scars on his face. But he's Scottish.
Mm.
And his personality really, really good for me. Not really, but like really.
Okay, but Beetlejuice is technically a rotting corpse.
Okay, no, he's not a corpse, technically. He's a spirit. Okay. And he's a bioexorcist, so he does gross things to get rid of people.
He does creative things to get rid of people.
What I'm saying is he chooses to be the gross thing. Okay, that's what he's choosing.
For real. But
So
I mean,
choose to be gross in front of everyone else and then come home and not be gross.
it's like Chris Gun Show. We're gonna call him Gun Show.
Gotcha.
Since he told me, I didn't know I was gonna get a gun show
I
yesterday.
can't believe you said that. Such a dork. Chris is funny and he's a dork. And I think
So
he's a dork.
I'm so glad that Chris is okay with you, and know that you have an open mind when it comes to the looks of men.
I do, because it's not just about looks.
But there has to be some sort of attraction there.
Yeah,
Sexually.
attracted to someone personally.
I'm sorry. I'm not that I'm trying to imagine this by any stretch of the imagination. Is the one time that you put your hand in slimy, icky stuff when you were getting intimate with Beetlejuice, it'd be done.
Well, yeah, that's why you gotta be not gross at home. Ugh.
And he smells. I mean, he's supposed to be gross, stinky, smelly, icky dude.
But that's by the trade of his job.
He's dead.
He's a spirit.
He has rotted in some places. He's got to have some goo there. I mean, there's
He's
going to be
not
goo.
a dead body. He's a spirit. That's your problem. You think he's a dead body. He's not a dead body. He's a spirit. He's an entity. He's an entity who can control how he is perceived.
Hmm. You know what I would think very funny though, is if he did something well like SpongeBob, Squidward, where he turned into like that hunky version of himself.
Handsome
You know what I
Squid.
mean? But the one thing is for sure is that I'm very, very glad that Michael Keaton decided to come back and do him and not get somebody new. Because nobody else could have done it like him.
Mm-mm.
So you should really go after Michael Keaton. Let's be
He's
honest.
not bad looking.
I never said he was bad looking, but I mean, I could see that way
No.
better than the what do you call them things? Entity Beetlejuice.
All I'm saying, you asked me, and all I'm telling you is that Beetlejuice wooed me during that movie, okay?
But just think about how many people, let's say if you could hire Beetlejuice, how many people would hire Beetlejuice to get rid of their husband or wife or their enemy?
He doesn't kill people, he scares them to death.
Mm-hmm.
You're so stupid.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody died in the first one. And nobody died in the second one either. He doesn't kill people.
Now, he didn't do it, but Barbara and Adam died in the first one.
Yeah, but Beetlejuice doesn't kill people.
No, I didn't say that, but he can't scare them to death.
I don't know why you would think that would be a deal breaker for me, given all my other fictional obsessions.
Well, the only reason that you would go for Beetlejuice now is because he is fictional. If he was real.
I mean, I probably wouldn't date a 600-year-old vampire either.
Depends.
But it's nice to pretend like I would have a future with Eric Northman. Or Spike. Spike was my first love. I'm just saying.
I don't know. I just think it would
Should have married
be
Beetlejuice.
interesting.
I don't even know what it would be like if Beetlejuice was real. I would hire Beetlejuice to scare just anyone who is an inconvenience for me.
That's everybody. You would be broke. You could not hire him.
Quite a few
If he shows up at my house, I'm gonna be pissed.
I don't really know why, but my favorite part of Beetlejuice is whenever he stamps the passport.
That is a little weird. Why is that your favorite part?
I don't know, but it just like plays in my head all the time. I don't know why.
That is
I just
weird.
love
Why does that play in your head?
Because it stamps that shit out of luck. And remember whenever he first meets Ingrid, he's like, what's it, Dostoevsky? He's like,
Ingrid.
oh,
Astrid?
Astrid, that's what I said. When he first meets Astrid, they like bond over that book by Dostoevsky.
You said it right the first time.
How did I say it the first time? I always struggle with that name. And then he's like, I don't know. I just like it. It's a little ode to their first meeting, which is kind of
Can't
creepy.
go too much into the meaning. We don't want to give away Beetlejuice.
That means Beetlejuice was listening when they had their first meeting. Because he's like, I think it was Dostoevsky who said, "So long, fucker," or something like that. I don't know. That's just my favorite part. This way should be eating crackers while we're doing this.
Listen, it's lunchtime. I'm hungry. And you know what? I don't think he's the first person who ever said that phrase. I already forgot what it was.
I don't care. I think it's funny. It's my favorite.
No, I think it was. I mean, obviously, he's been spying on Lydia for 30 years.
True, that's true. And that's another thing. Stayed loyal to her for 30 years. Come on, girlfriend. It's your soulmate right there.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
Yes!
He stalked her for 30 years.
He loved her for 30 years.
He doesn't actually love her.
I just want to be clear, I don't read dark romance novels. This conversation is kind of sounding like I do, and I don't.
Wait, dark like paranormal?
No, like where the guy's like a creepy stalker who breaks into her house and leaves flowers
I mean,
and is low-key abusive. That's not my jam.
no, he's definitely stalking her. Obsessing about her. He is obsessed with her.
Loved her.
I don't love her.
Yes, he does.
Like, when did he meet her? How old was she?
I don't want to talk about that.
How old was she?
I don't want to talk about that.
He is technically a pedophile.
No.
She was not 16.
She was 16.
No, she wasn't.
Yes, she was.
No, she wasn't.
Yes, she was.
And it's still under the legal age.
Also, pedophiles are prepubescent. We've had this conversation before. Get it right.
I can't because I don't remember what the term was. It's just easier to say pedophile.
And I'm not condoning Beetlejuice's behavior, okay?
But he loves her.
I'm just saying at the end of the day, if I was Lydia, I would have married Beetlejuice. And when say her name?
Hmm?
Winona Ryder.
What'd you call her?
What I just said. Anyways, love her. Can't say her name. She wanted them to get married too. Mm-hmm.
She did.
She said so in an interview. Yeah.
I feel like the age gap would get in the way.
And again, I'll say, how is it any different than having a relationship with a vampire?
But I'll tell you what. Beetlejuice really stayed current. When he sucked everybody into the phones, he really stayed current.
Exactly. And whenever he's trying to get in touch with her, so he sends her all those pop-up ads on her phone.
Mm-hmm. No.
And I did a disclosure warning. I said if you haven't seen it and you want to see it, skip this part. So,
But it was funny. I enjoyed that movie.
Beetlejuice will have been out for 2 months.
But you know what? And you know what? If there was a manual, if people really knew what happened after your death, and there was a manual on that, that'd be a bestseller. I wouldn't say it would be up there with the Bible, but it would definitely be a bestseller.
Well, there is this theory on TikTok that people who commit suicide end up being civil servants in the afterlife. And that all stems from whenever Barbara and Adam are talking to Miss Argentina. And she says, if I knew then what I know now, I wouldn't have had my little accident.
And she goes like this.
Yep. So people think that if you kill yourself, you become a simple servant.
Well, and that's hell. That's hell for themselves. I mean,
but then people are wondering why Astrid's dad was clearly a simple servant if he died from a boating accident.
Exactly.
But maybe he volunteered.
I mean, it worked out. And here's another thing: is there's these things that pop up on my feed sometimes. I mean, it might be a little clue on my stuff, but apparently, like, there's doctors have done regressions for like past lives and stuff, and in some of those regressions, people are like, there's other places to inhabit other than Earth, and Earth is like the trash heap of all of them, but everybody wants to come here.
Oh,
And I had a point in this. Hold on. Keep it in mind. And the sandworm was obviously on a different planet because Saturn was in the background.
is on one of Saturn's moons.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah. And hell would be Earth because
I mean, technically, hell could be.
aliens are not, because I freaking hate aliens. But there was this TikTok going around last year where people had like the alien filter on, and they were like driving past Earth and like locking their doors.
Hilarious. Hell could be Mercury. It's the closest planet to the sun, right?
Yeah. I think about my song from Blue's Clues. What else you got? We spent too much time talking about how I would marry Beetlejuice. I'll probably cut that out. It's a little embarrassing.
You better not cut that out. That's like the majority of this. I mean, I guess it could be on a different planet in a different universe or solar system. It could be the sun itself, because the sun is uber hot.
I just know that the afterlife in Beetlejuice is random, and that's another thing I don't understand though, because Barbara and Adam changed their physical appearance, and Beetlejuice changed his physical appearance. So why did other ghosts, like, what's his name?
Charles?
Yeah. So I do get why his ghost was the way that his ghost was, because the guy who plays Charles is a pedophile, so they didn't want him in the show. I get that, right? But if you can control your outward appearance, why would you stay looking like some of these people stayed looking like?
Well, because he doesn't know how to do it first. A lot of people can't. He can't read that manual. He doesn't have any eyes.
I'm not just talking about him. I'm also talking about Charred Santa. Or Astrid's dad.
I just don't feel like it.
Maybe it takes a lot of energy.
Here's what I want to know though: is in between when Astrid was climbing the ladder and her mom was with her dad, what did they say? What did they do?
Oh, you mean did she kiss the dead man?
Hug him, kiss him, show any emote, period.
Well, she does tell Astrid that their relationship was over before he went and died. So
I feel bad for Astrid.
it's a good question though.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, because I was like, we're not going to give anything.
Why did she kiss Beetlejuice?
I just can't. Just can't. Mm-mm.
I'm just saying. That's my weakness though, okay? Is questionable characters who will do whatever it takes for you. That's my weakness.
All right, gun show. Be warned that if a person comes up and will do whatever it takes for Miranda, she out.
Yeah. I can forgive a lot. I can forgive a lot if you're willing to do terrible things for me. Or really good things for me.
I'm glad you put that in there.
If you're willing to let the world work for me while you take me to pagan festivals, pride pagan festivals, you're the one. Just saying. But realistically, a lot of the fictional crushes that I have, I wouldn't jive with in real life. I'm aware of that.
Yeah, I posted something for you and Stephanie on my Facebook this morning.
Mm-hmm.
It says your anxiety does not come from thinking about the future. It comes from you not being able to control it.
Yeah. And that's my biggest problem. That's also why I watch things that I've already seen 1,000 times, like Buffy and Sons of Anarchy. These are not fun, happy shows. But I know how they're going to end. Well, Buffy can be funny.
But, I mean, you can find humor in a lot of things. And that's why I'm weird. It's because I do find humor in things I probably shouldn't find humor in.
Yeah, I know. Some of our old podcast episodes are too giggly.
You giggled too.
I know. One old guy was very put off by our podcast because we laughed while we were talking about decapitation.
Well, I wasn't getting.
And ironically, 2 episodes.
I mean, I wasn't getting decapitated.
2 episodes about decapitation, and we laughed quite frequently.
It's not like we were like describing the decapitation and giggling about the details.
No. Mostly we laugh when we drag like dumb theories or the killers.
Yeah, so I mean, I get he can be put off. That's completely his freedom to do. But it's not like yeah, we may have giggled when we said decapitation, but you have to see the episode to understand why we were giggling.
Yeah.
And my lovely theories on how the head was decapitated from the body.
With a lemon knife.
You didn't come up with anything better, okay?
Because that's all you have in a strip club bar.
I know!
A lemon knife.
Unless you have a machete under the bar. That would have worked.
Moving on.
Okay, so yay or nay for Beetlejuice, I better not say it 3 times, to be real.
You're such a dork.
You're welcome.
And
You're yay. I know.
I don't know.
I think it would be an intriguing concept.
It'd be fun. And then it's nice to think that when you die, you don't just stop. Like, you get to do other stuff. It's a bummer to think that you work.
For eternity.
Yeah. It's a bummer to think that when I die, I have a job. But I just won't kill myself.
Got depressed.
Just don't kill yourself. Suicide is not a joke. People care about you. And if you need a reason not to kill yourself, you don't want to be a simple servant for the rest of eternity.
I think that's a different episode about the reasons why people may commit suicide now, because it is really on an uptick.
Well, I'm not talking about why they commit suicide. I'm telling them why not to. Because you want to see
it's a good episode in future.
Moving on to our next segment. Cue the intro. This segment is called True Crime Corner and is a little nod to where we started with True Crime Co.
Nod.
I can't. Today we're going to talk about a murder that was not committed on Halloween, but we decided to do today because it is sometimes referenced to as the Scream murders, and Scream is my favorite scary movie. Also, it's what her outfit is themed after. Deputy Dewey
in the house.
So, in all seriousness, today we're going to be talking about the murder of Cassie Jo Stoddart.
Cassie Jo Stoddart. It sounded like you said Cassie Jo's daughter.
I was trying to say it fast because I didn't think I was going to say her name right.
Yeah, I think you should slow that one down. Otherwise, she's going to be talking about Cassie Jo's daughter.
Moving forward, we're talking about Cassie, and we will refer to her as Cassie. So, this occurred in Pocatello, Idaho.
It's Pocatello.
Pocatello, Idaho.
Mike went to college there.
Oh, as I say, is that where Mike's from?
No.
It happened September 22nd, 2006. I was reading an article this morning on Wikipedia, and it said the murder happened 17 years ago. And I was like, please kill me, because there's no way 2006 is 17 years ago. And it is.
Well, now it's 18 years ago, however.
Cassie was 16 years old when she was stabbed to death by two classmates named Brian Draper and Tori Adamick.
I said they suck.
They do suck. So on September 22nd, Cassie was at her aunt and uncle's house, and she was house sitting for them while they were away for the weekend. The house was only about 15 to 20 minutes away from her house, but it was kind of remote, so like the closest neighbor was half a mile away. Cassie did have permission to have her boyfriend Matt over for a little while, and he was just going to hang out with her and watch movies until he got picked up by his mom. Without Cassie's permission or knowledge, Matt invited Tori and Brian over for a party. And when the two got there, they realized that it wasn't really a party. It was just the couple hanging out. And they didn't really like the movies that they were watching. So after about an hour or two, they decided they were going to leave. And they told Matt and Cassie that they were going to go watch a movie in town at the theater. Before they left, Brian went and unlocked the basement door without anybody's knowledge. Big shocker, they didn't go into town to watch a movie. They actually snuck back into the basement of the house. And around between 10 and 10:30, I can't really remember what time they said, because I was listening to a podcast for this information. So around 10 or 10:30, Tori and Brian cut the lights off with the breaker, and it freaks Cassie and Matt out a little bit, but they still continue on their night. And then around 11 p.m., Matt's mom arrived to pick him up. Cassie was still really freaked out about the light situation, so she asked if Brian could stay the night. And if Matt could stay the night. And Matt's mom was like, no, but you can come stay with us and I'll bring you back in the morning. For whatever reason, Cassie declined that offer. It could be
she thought she was safe.
Yeah, she was probably like, oh, I'm just freaking myself out. It's no big deal. Or maybe she felt like she should stay at the house because she was being paid to house sit. That's what the True Crime All the Time podcast theorized, that she was just trying to show a sense of responsibility. So after Matt leaves, he texts Brian and Tori and is like, hey, I'm headed home. Unknowingly letting them know that Cassie's alone in the house. So Brian and Tori turn the lights off again, hoping that Cassie will come down to the basement to try and turn them back on, but she never does. So eventually they go upstairs, and she hears them, and she's like calling out, allegedly, who's there. And they end up stabbing her to death. Hold on, because I can tell you how many times.
Here's my question. Why did the boyfriend call the dudes and tell them that he was leaving?
Well, I think maybe it was like, I know there was a reason. I think maybe they were like going to play games or hang out or something. Like there's a reason that he texted them that he was leaving. And it wasn't so that they could go kill Cassie, obviously.
I hope not. That would really suck for her. I mean, it already sucks for her because she got stabbed to death.
Oh, yeah, it says right here, she felt the responsibility to stay at the house because she was hired to stay at the house and take care of the animals. He called them to see where they were and what they were doing. And they were kind of whispering. So he called Tori to see what they were doing. And they were kind of whispering, and they were like, oh, they're in the movies. But really, they were whispering because they were in Cassie's basement. They turned the lights out again. I already said that. They were waiting for her to come down, but then she didn't. So they ended up going upstairs, and they had a dagger and a hunting knife that they had bought at a pawn shop.
And the pawn shop let them buy it?
You're 16.
Oh.
So she was laying on the couch when they went upstairs, and they ended up attacking her, and they stabbed her approximately 30 times. 12 wounds were potentially fatal. So that's how the murder went. And then they left her body. They didn't take any pictures or anything of the body. That's going to be important later. So they left. They went home. They discarded the clothes and the knives that they had used. And then the next day, one of them ended up hanging out with Matt for the whole day. And then nobody found Cassie's body until the family returned from their vacation, until they came home. And her 13-year-old cousin is actually the one that found her body because she ran into the house first. Anyways, so moving into the investigation, Cassie's mom's boyfriend was their first initial suspect because they had found his fingerprints on the breaker box downstairs. But his fingerprints were on the breaker box because he had done work for the house like a month or two prior to that. So, and he had like an alibi, so he was ruled out early on. Then they said that Matt was a suspect because he was the last person to have seen her alive. And he lets them know about Tori and Brian coming over. He lets them know about the lights flickering. And then he's like, and I went home with my mom. And then his mom confirms that she had actually heard Cassie when she came to pick Matt up. So Cassie was still alive when Matt left with his mom. So then he was ruled out as a suspect because of his alibi and everything adding up. So then they bring in Brian and Tori. And so Brian and Tori spin this way about how they left the house to go watch a movie, but then they couldn't really tell the police anything about the movie that they had supposedly went to watch. So then it kind of deteriorates from there. And then eventually they confess and then start telling on each other. They're like, no, it was Brian. No, it was Tori. It wasn't me. I had to do what I had to do because he was going to kill me. That kind of,
Didn't they do a video?
Well, I was going to get to that.
Oh, my bad. Sorry.
So they're arrested September 27th, 2006. So it's only been like 5 days at this point. Which, can we just say, really sloppy work. Okay? Because they had really planned to do this, okay? They idolized serial killers. They were really into Scream franchise. Like, I would think more planning would go into this, but let's all remember they are 16-year-old boys. So do with that information what you will. I love the meat stick cigar.
It's not a meat stick cigar. It's a nori maki.
It looks like a meat stick cigar.
I could be a general.
So basically, Brian claims that Tori's the one who killed her. Well, Tori's the one who stabbed her first and then was like, come kill her to Brian. And he's like, if you don't, I'll kill you. So in order to back up this claim, Brian actually takes police out to where they discarded the clothes and the weapons. And then while they're there, they also find video footage hidden with the stuff.
The place where they hid their stuff, they found the video.
I don't know why they wouldn't have hid them in separate places, but whatever. It's really not my business.
I would figure it would be, wait, it was 2006. Do they have phones or was this on like a video camera?
Dude, I think this was like a video. They did it on like a webcam. So then they had like those little things. And I'll put some of the video on. I'll link some of the videos into this episode so that we can all see some of the planning that went into that. But basically, after reviewing the footage and everything, they come to the conclusion that they both had a part in it, and then they both are found guilty. Brian's mom still to this day is convinced, or is it Tori's? One of the moms is convinced and has written books about it and has gone on and spoke publicly about it, about how her son was just the victim of the other kid. But they're pretty sure that like Brian was the main contributor. Like But from the video footage, Tori obviously played a part in it too, because they literally videotaped themselves planning it, leading up to it, and then bragging about it afterwards. They didn't videotape her death or anything. So I guess that's a plus.
I guess so. I don't get the logic.
Of why they did it?
Yeah.
So apparently they talked about how they were going to be famous. It's kind of exactly like, honestly, the motive is kind of exactly like Scream. They're just trying to be famous. They're just trying to be one of the great killers.
There are better ways to be famous.
I agree.
Maybe not YouTube like this for us.
I just think that if you want to be famous, probably killing people isn't the answer, because you're going to get caught, especially when you're so dumb. They found, what was it that they found? In the podcast I just listened to, they said they found some kind of evidence in Brian's room.
They probably kept the souvenir.
You came up with an alibi, right? But then you couldn't. They also were supposedly like movie buffs and stuff like that, movie experts, but you can't tell the police anything about the movie that you allegedly watched. And then you videotaped yourself talking about doing it, and then talking about how you did it, and then you hid it with the other evidence, and then took the police to it. That's just really.
And they're like, "Oh, I can't wait to do it again."
Oh yeah, and then one of them had a memorial website for the victims of Columbine. And then apparently if you scroll all the way to the bottom, it said, and more to come. As in, like, they were going to memorialize more victims.
What's wrong with this world?
Well, some people argue that TV and video games, but I argue poor parenting and a lack of social structure.
I mean, they have a good argument here, because they just sit here and plan to murder that.
Okay.
Scream.
Let's be so for real, though. My kids, I'm not going to disclose how young they are, because then I look like a bad mom here. My kids like Scream. They like violent video games, Fortnite, Roblox, zombie games. They read Five Nights at Freddy's books, watch Five Nights at Freddy's movies. My youngest can recite all the horror villains ever. Full name: Jason Voorhees, Freddy Krueger, Michael Myers. He knows who all these people are, okay? We watch Jujutsu Kaisen and Demon Slayer. Guts, blood, violence everywhere, okay? But my kids understand you can't kill people because it's wrong. It's not the video games that make kids violent. It's video games mixed with poor parenting, mixed with bad social development.
All right. You done with your pedestal?
Yeah.
Well, this is a sad part. I'm glad we had fun before.
Well, that's all I have. I mean, there is more information, and for a good deep dive, there's tons of podcasts out there. There's a documentary too, I think.
Oh, I think I might actually watch the documentary out. I'm not sure. But here's the takeaway from this. One, talk to your children. Know your children. Don't ignore your children. If you see signs, recognize it.
Go through your children's rooms.
Yeah.
Go through their phones. I do.
I mean, but we watched this show thing, and they go into the bad murders and what they've done, and they're like, oh, the relationship started out fine, but there had been signs. It's always there were signs. There's always signs, is my point.
There is always signs. You just have to be able to recognize it.
And be aware enough to recognize them. Don't just sit your kids in front of televisions.
And talk to your kids about how death is forever, and being a murderer means a life sentence, and no one cares that you're 16 years old.
Yeah. A murder is a murder. And if you do see signs, get them in therapy. Hopefully that will help. Just something.
Yeah.
Try to, do everything that you possibly can so we don't have as many were they considered psychopaths or sociopaths or something paths?
Psychopathy is a personality disorder. Being a shit human being is just that.
And here's what words live. Don't be a shit person.
And not everybody who has psychopathic tendencies kills people.
That's another episode.
I just think that we use that we use that as an excuse too often.
Yeah. I mean, there's got to be some sort of avoidance here. There's got to be something that can be done to help these kids not fantasize themselves into convincing themselves to do this stuff.
Yeah, talk to your kids. And know who your kids hang out with, too.
Yeah.
And if your kids are hanging out with shitty kids, tell them.
Yeah. Hang out with your kids. It could be as simple as that. Hang out with your kids.
And not to ruin the serious vibe we have going on here, but to tie it back to our previous conversation, Stu Macher is on my list of inappropriate fictional crushes.
Why is he on your list?
Because I love Matthew Lillard. That's why he's on my list.
Well, then the character should not be on your list. Matthew Lillard is on your list.
I just think he plays the character so well.
Just because the character itself should not be on your list. The actor who portrayed the character should be on your list, as he is.
High school, I would have dated Stu Macher, and I would have died in a doggy door. No, I wouldn't have, because I wouldn't have tried to crawl out the doggy door, but I would have been Tatum. I would have met Tatum's same fate.
I can't deal with you.
I probably would have dated Billy Loomis, too, to be honest with you.
I can't deal with you. I can't. I mean,
but it's true.
See, having Matthew Lillard on your list or Skeet Ulrich, fine, but not the characters in which they portrayed murderers.
I mean, I'm just saying, as a high school girl, I would have dated both of those characters.
I have no freaking doubt. None.
But I will say, as an adult, Billy Loomis doesn't really make my list. But when he plays Jughead Dad in Riverdale, okay. You never watched Riverdale?
No, I don't watch Riverdale.
He's like this criminal biker dad.
Oh, it wasn't, what's his name?
And then he becomes a sheriff.
Luke's, no. Was it Luke?
It is Luke. I loved him too. Luke Perry.
That's it, yeah.
Oh yeah, when I watched Riverdale, I was in love with the dads. Hot dads.
And yet, she's married to a man who's 1 year older than her.
Yeah. And emotionally much less mature.
We weren't talking about that.
Yeah, you're right. I guess it isn't Stu so much as it is Matthew Lillard, who I met in real life.
Yes, I just saw the picture.
Well, R.I.P. Cassie, rot in prison, Troy and Brian. You psychopathic little shits.
And if you are innocent and by any means, I hope you get out, but you guys are dead to rights. So
I'm going to attach the video where they literally say they did it to this episode so that there's no question.
I know.
Okay, bye.
Bye.